I found it! I found the block!
That's not the block, yo! Listen up! Bap, 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 bap! Spot the block!
Don't! Now, back to the adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, on Friday Night Nicktoons.
I'll never be one of those people that claim that cartoons suck nowadays. Some of my favorite shows ever have come out in the last 5 years, and my childhood innocence has already been thoroughly crushed.
How does that make you feel? It doesn't.
So those must have just been good cartoons. But if there is one thing that has unquestionably deteriorated since my childhood, it's not the shows themselves, it's the stuff around it. There is absolutely no pomp and circumstance in the ways that shows come on nowadays. I talked a little about this in my Capture the Flag video, which you should go watch later, but our bumper game has gotten so weak. So much of it is just the same old plug and play transitions and nothing else. But it used to feel rad to watch TV, and nowhere was this more evident than in the abundance of blocks we had to choose from as kids. It didn't matter what kind of show you were dealing with, TV channels would find some way to get you excited about it, and everything in front of and before it. With all the cool different hosts, themes, and just overall vibes, we wanted for nothing in the 90s and 2000s. And while there are still a few that keep that hope alive, I think the time I mentioned was when they were at their peak. So join me on a nostalgic journey through TV history as we rediscover the reason we were all glued to the idiot box.
It's a block thing! I wouldn't know.
I'm your host and limited time author, D'Angelo Edwards. And today, I'm taking my hat off to 2000s TV blocks.
It goes ba-bum, ba-bum, bum, click, bum, ba-bum, ba-bum, bum, click, bum.
We need more bad guys to smash.
Bum, click, bum. I be Lord of the Rings, I manifest. Represent from the den, I don't wear no vest. I got a heart, my chest, it goes ba-bum, ba-bum. I sway halfway, the day's hump, get over. I be Lord of the Rings, I manifest.
I'll put a shot to your sister.
I don't wear no vest. I got a heart, my chest, it goes ba-bum, ba-bum. I sway halfway, the day's hump, get over. One out the ring, so now you got.
Now, a lot goes into making a good block.
Like what?
The three things that go into making a block good are a good host, good shows, and a good atmosphere. Most blocks only have one or two, but when you get the heavy hitters, they usually have all three. Though some do one thing so well, it still bumps its way back up into greatness. But let's start small. I think that growing up, the most common blocks were just ones that grouped shows together based on what they were about. This could be as simple as just slapping the shows together and making a quick title card, but there were some that were really good at getting you in the mood. Like, a really simple but effective one I used to watch was Hangin' with the Heroes on Toon Disney. Yeah, remember Toon Disney? It was one of my favorite channels for a while, but it eventually got replaced with Disney XD, which I liked way more back when it didn't know what it wanted to be. Where else could you watch Fresh Prince and Silver Surfer nearly back to back? It was the Wild West. But Hanging with the Heroes was a block that showed off their more action-oriented shows. There was stuff like Aladdin, Gargoyles, Hercules, all packaged together into the perfect block for a growing violence-obsessed boy. It had a cool spy tech theme going on, and they even made a little rap to get you hyped for the shows.
We will take care of you, stopping all you do. Proving what they do. Bad activities, still want more. Heroes always
The block had several sister blocks too, like Chillin' with the Villains, that had more villain-focused episodes of the shows, and the Princess Power Hour, which wasn't as good because it had the Little Mermaid show in it. So it was less of a block and more you would watch Aladdin and then turn the channel. But like, looking back at it, it really wasn't much. But with this tiny bit of branding added, it made the shows that were gonna come on anyway feel more special. That and the fact that a lot of these shows were bangers made for a good block. But sometimes the blocks went even further with the branding, like Late Night Black and White. This was a block that aired on Cartoon Network later in the night that featured old black and white cartoons, mostly from Fleischer and MGM. This was how I got into Popeye back in the day. There was something about how quiet it would get at night, mixed with the crackling of the old cartoons and the smooth, jazzy vibe that filled the channel. Watching this block gave me a love for the classics that still continues to this day. It was the perfect thing to either fall asleep to or wake up to. A lot better than that time I woke up to Fantasia. Still trying to get over seeing the devil at the ripe age of 4. There were a lot of these old school blocks on Cartoon Network that made use of their older library. Stuff like Down with Droopy D and The Morning Crew, all cool new ways to watch old cartoons. But all of these blocks were nothing to the main nostalgia block on the channel, Boomerang.
It's all coming back to you.
Boomerang grew to become one of my favorite things on the channel, with stuff like Hong Kong Phooey, Quick Draw, and Jabberjaw. Like, it didn't matter that these shows were made with $2 and a dream, they were still super entertaining, and I'm glad the network realized that. Boomerang got moved around a lot in the schedule, sometimes it aired at night, sometimes morning, sometimes just weekends, but eventually it got to the point where they just gave it its own channel, and this meant that the block was now giving birth to blocks of its own. The circle of life, baby. They made stuff like Those Meddling Kids, which showed off Scooby and all of the clones it spawned, and the Boomerang Zoo, where Yogi Bear and all of his animal pals headlined. Boomerang could get into a rut sometimes, but these blocks helped it to stay relatively fresh. But the main one that I remember watching all the time was Boomeraction. Boomeraction had everything I craved. All of the action shows from the 70s and up. Most people didn't know about Birdman and Space Ghost until their stint on Adult Swim, but I was there with the OGs. And not just them, but Johnny Quest, The Impossibles, Young Samson. Oh, don't get me started on Young Samson. Pete! And the branding for this block? Chef's Kiss. One of the coolest looking things on television. You got all the action figures and the microscope thing and that banging theme playing while Robot Jones tells you. This thing is so Y2K it makes Spy Kids blush. And Boomerang wasn't the only block to generate new blocks. Take Toonami for instance, which, yes, it is one of the greatest to ever do it. It's a huge reason anime caught on in the West, and I would literally do anything Tom tells me to do. I remember he reviewed Lego Star Wars 2 one time, and I bought it the next day. Don't play with me. But I'd rather save most of my thoughts on it for a standalone video. The same with other mega blocks like Cartoon Fridays and Kids WB. I swear they'll all have their time. I just want to keep this video relatively short. But yeah, Toonami. If a perfect block ever existed, it's Toonami. And Toonami had several special blocks to offer us, like the Midnight Run, which showed off the more violent Toonami shows, even airing uncut versions of Gundam Wing. Midnight Run was also how the world was introduced to Tom, who took over hosting duties from Moltar. Like I mentioned before, the quality of a block could be greatly improved by the right host, and Tom was a great choice. While originally just this cute little robot dude, his popularity rose to new heights after being redesigned as the upgraded Tom 2. They even had a cool little miniseries explaining it. This Tom was sleek, cool, and brought to life by the always amazing Steve Blum. His cool voice and genuine appreciation of the content he was presenting made Tom super likable and a major reason of why old school Toonami is still remembered so fondly today. But like I said, I want to save most of my Toonami thoughts for a standalone video, so let's move on. Once again, I'm happy to say this video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. Treat your cheeks to something nice and pick up an OC6 ergonomic office chair. I thought the last chair I got from FlexiSpot was something special, but this one is even better. The OC6 office chair is a direct replacement for their Steelcase gesture chair, with an increased load capacity of 500 pounds. The seat is made from thickened mesh fabric, which means you'll have a comfortable, supportive sitting experience for up to 10 years. The chair is fully adjustable with 4D armrest, seat depth adjustment, seat height adjustment, and backrest adjustment. It's fully reclinable and even features built-in lumbar support with adjustable pillow. It doesn't matter what you're working with down there, this chair can fit any need. Ooh.
big flat butt 11 o'clock.
If you're interested in taking your sitting game to the next level, you can get an OC6 ergonomic office chair by clicking the link below. Once again, you can purchase this chair by clicking the link in the description. FlexiSpot, a new comfortable future.
Now you have one card left.
And that's all I need. Go, Jericho Screamer!
Go, Riley Screamer!
I mentioned Kids WB earlier, and along with Toonami and Fridays, it is my favorite block ever. Saturday morning blocks are a different beast completely, because they could literally be anywhere. Kids WB was my favorite, with stuff like Animaniacs, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Shaolin Showdown. Just the sheer variety and quality of the shows couldn't be beat. I loved all the different contests they would hold, all the different character interactions, like a cheaper version of CN City that kind of had a charm all to its own. Just taking frames from the shows and making the characters talk to each other.
Hurry, it's spreading!
Squirtle, Squirtle.
Bulbasaur!
Pikachu!
Besides Kids WB, you also had the Fox Box, which I watched whenever Kids WB was all reruns. Yeah, I know it started off as like Fox Family and Fox Kids, but the Fox Box was my main era. It was kind of like baby's first Toonami, with stuff like One Piece, Shaman King, and even Ultraman sometimes. They also had some weirder shows I remember watching too, like the Cramp Twins and Funky Cops. It was also where I first saw Ultimate Muscle, and let me tell you, the sheer hours I put into that GameCube game, put that in Evo. You can't beat my Dick Van Dyke. But even outside of the more well-known ones, there were Saturday morning blocks on nearly every channel. ABC had a bunch, with the OG of course being the Disney Afternoon, but they eventually also got ABC Kids, which would air some of the same shows that aired on Disney Channel. Disney even shifted some of its own shows to UPN with Disney One too. I used to watch that every morning before school. Man, is it just me, or did Tarzan have the hypest opening, only to be incredibly boring most of the time? Another big one that Disney did was Jetix. I remember I used to watch it on Saturday mornings, but eventually it ate half of Toon Disney. It had a lot of great shows like Monkey Team, Yin Yang Yo, and Puka, and the slick metal heart style of the world inhabited by Jay, the weird little mascot who I've heard is the cat, was super fun and immersive. Jetix was great at first, but after a while it kind of felt like they were letting anything air on it. Like, was anyone scrambling to watch Captain Flamingo or Monster Buster Club? Still, great block for the time. CBS also had a version of ABC Kids with Nickelodeon on CBS. I didn't always have cable growing up, so it was cool that there was still a way to see these kind of shows outside of trips to my grandma's house. That's what made these Saturday blocks so special. It didn't matter if you had cable. As long as you had a TV and an antenna, you'd be able to find a cartoon to watch somewhere. And decent ones too. Sadly, all of these blocks met their end after the FCC made it so that all children's blocks had to feature at least 3 hours of educational television. Like, kids already have to go to school. Why can't they just kick back with some senseless violence and potty humor? Oh well. At least kids still have stuff to watch now with free channels on stuff like Pluto. It's just not the same though. There's something cool about the fact that I used to be able to watch a cartoon on the same channel that the news came on. Like, it was my own little spot just for me. But time moves forward, and so does this video. So let's close it off with a few heavy hitters. While Toonami ruled the after-school afternoons for a while, eventually it moved to Saturday nights only, and we needed a replacement to get our action fix. The first of these attempts was the Saturday Video Entertainment System, a block that was meant to encapsulate all of the action shows in the network, both from Toonami and Cartoon Network. So we got stuff from the DCAU like Batman and Justice League, your classic Toonami lineup like Dragon Ball and Yu Yu Hakusho, And we even got some of the more action-oriented stuff from Cartoon Network like Samurai Jack and the 2003 Clone Wars. This is probably the best, most diverse action block that we've ever had on Cartoon Network. And while its neat video game aesthetic, while good in its own right, doesn't compare to the full-on production that was Toonami, it's still a very solid block. But the one that really stands out to me was the block that replaced it. Only a little after the week it was cancelled, we were introduced to Aaron, the brand new host of Miguzi, the new afternoon action block. I have no idea how this block only lasted 3 years, because it is so thoroughly ingrained in my mind. Aaron and her little alien friends, the hand-drawn bumper cars that land somewhere in between really cool and out-of-draw anime, and just the comfy, beachy vibe this block gave off. Miguzi kind of felt like a more kid-friendly Toonami, like it was the Betty to Toonami's Veronica. Still, the bumpers were fun and they helped set the mood. We also had a pretty decent lineup full of the more action comedy shows of the time, like Megas XLR and Juniper Lee. Though if you ask me, the flagship shows were definitely the acquired stuff, like Code Lyoko and Totally Spies. I wasn't that big into Totally Spies when I was a kid, but Code Lyoko was a big favorite. Kids going into a video game to fight what was basically a creepypasta. Sign me up. Couple that with relationship drama and a real chance to die in the game, and I was hooked. Hey, check this out for like the most awkward kiss you've ever seen.
Hi. How are you?
Oh god, it's worse than I remember. But Miguzi was cool. They even had a contest to create a new alien friend for Aaron, and after a fierce competition, Yoke stood supreme. Nice going.
Name and address withheld.
Alright, let's end this off with a couple from Nickelodeon. Though if you want me to make another video like this, let me know. This is a lot of fun just rambling about this stuff. Anyway, another big part of blocks were the interactivity, and one of the biggest blocks to do it was You Pick Live. This was the block that aired on Nick where viewers got to pick what show would air. In between the shows, the hosts would chat, do sketches, and generally just revel in that textbook Nickelodeon wackiness. The audience got to compete too, playing games with the host and competing against each other in cool Double Dare styled games. The two biggest parts of the show that I remember are Garbaggio, a wrestler who would just try and wrestle whatever he could, and of course, the main star of the program. The biggest standout for me, and a lot of people I'm sure, was Pick Boy, who would help pick the shows and people out of the audience. This dude was so popular that even after You Pick Live ended, he would still make appearances, even up to 2015. The actor that portrayed him, Jeff Sutphin, would even host the revival of Figure It Out. Just an absolute Nick legend. Right up there with SpongeBob and Nick Cannon. And speaking of Nick Cannon, this is the perfect time to go over our last block of the day. Back when I was little, I used to watch Noggin a lot with my little sister. While Noggin was a cool channel in its own right, probably the coolest channel for preschoolers back in the day, it wasn't until 6 p.m. where the real fun of the channel started.
You're in the end. Real life starts now.
The end is stylized teenage perfection, dude. I don't think there will ever be anything as cool as the end was. The bumpers, the shows, just that unbridled teen spirit. Oh man, just talking about it makes me want to go cyberbully someone. Those were the days. The shows on this block were the perfect fit for the vibe they were going for, with the main standout obviously being Degrassi. The show legit defined a generation. Wasn't for me though. I respect it, but the only thing I couldn't make it through was an episode. Where the end mostly shined though, was in its carefully crafted library of acquired programming. Pete and Pete, Daria, Keenan and Kel, Moesha. This thing had a lineup, and with this killer list backed up by some of the slickest Rudiger Metro style graphics you could ask for, the end was some of the vibiest TV out there. I don't know what else to say about it, except that it was really cool, and it was kind of the reason I decided to make this video. I mean, just look at that hand logo. So good. And I think that's the message I want to leave on today. TV used to be so cool. All of these interesting and unique blocks I talked about today, and I barely scratched the surface. Like, there used to just be like blocks based on what season it was. It was rad, and it went a long way into making sure the shows they presented stayed firmly latched into my mind. If TV wants to make a comeback, they gotta go back to making cool blocks. Give people a reason to leave the TV on. Make more jobs for all these graphic designers and motion artists. Streaming might have the convenience factor, but it lacks the heart. We gotta get back into making TV an experience again. So let's get to it and build it up again, block by block.